Hello, so I know you clicked on this video today because you want to become a millionaire and you want to learn how to think like one. I'm a CPA that's worked in accounting and finance for 10 years and I've met many millionaires across my career. And what I realized is that most people will not become millionaires in their life, not because they're not good enough or not because they're not smart enough. It's simply because they were never taught to think the same way as millionaires. The first is belief. The second is how they spend their money on assets versus liabilities. The third is how to cultivate a long-term mindset. The fourth is your relationship with risk. The fifth is on trading time with money. The sixth is delegation. And the last one is chasing trends. So if you want to think and grow rich to become a millionaire, then make sure you keep watching. So I know that you need to first believe that you can become a millionaire. And you might think, Alice, everyone in this world wants to be rich. Who doesn't want to be a millionaire? And yeah, I definitely agree with you. Everyone wants to be rich. But here's the thing. Sometimes we have blind spots that we're not aware of. And sometimes these blind spots are internal programming, right, which is then reinforced by society that leads us to have limiting beliefs or self-sabotaging beliefs. I remember back in the day, when I still worked in corporate, I would watch YouTube videos of people that talked about making money online, that talked about social media, that talked about Amazon FBA back in the day. And they would talk about rich people and what rich people did. And I even met a girl in person. She has a ClickFunnels award. And so I remember when I started going down the social media rabbit hole, I started telling some other people that I knew that I was on this path. I was like, hey, check out these influencers. Like, hey, there's this way we can make money. And I told some of them I had started these side hustles. And by the way, these people that I spoke to were people who had financial backgrounds themselves, just like me, and are also highly educated. And I'm pretty sure that if we wrote standardized exams next to each other, that many of them would have scored higher than me on those exams. But sometimes these people, they would say things like, oh, don't listen to people like that. Don't listen to what you hear on YouTube. Don't listen to what you see online. These people are just trying to sell you things. And it was always strange to me because I knew that none of these people hated money, right? I knew none of them hated money. I knew that they were working hard for their next promotion and their raise. I knew that they wanted a bigger year-end bonus. You see, financial success is largely a mindset. And all millionaires understand that they have to do inner work to figure out what their blind spots are, because the belief patterns to become a millionaire have nothing to do with raw intelligence or an Ivy League education. I believed that I could quit my 9-to-5 job. I believed that I could make money online. I believed that I could be a YouTuber. I believed in all of these things before any of them happened in real life. And there's nothing different about me than anyone else, other than the fact that I'm a little bit loud and opinionated. I believe in myself, not out of arrogance. It's just I believe in myself that I can set goals in life, that I can set the intention and work towards them, period. Just like how when I was trying to graduate university or trying to pass CPA exams, I knew that I just needed to study, to work hard, and then I would pass my exams. The second thing that millionaires do is they prioritize ownership of assets before liabilities. Now, people that are millionaires, wealthy people, they don't just buy stuff, they buy assets, right? An asset being anything that is income producing, that makes you money. So that's property, investments, stocks, whereas the average person is purchasing a liability, right? That luxury item, the car, it's costing them something. It's not that wealthy people don't have nice things. Obviously, many of them have nice things, but when they get money, when they first receive money, they first put that money into assets because ownership is required to become a millionaire. And then what's remaining, they can use for consumption. Everyone is obsessed with having the nicest stuff from their latest vacation, what they bought, where they traveled, gadgets, toys. And as a society, we go onto social media every single day, or at least I do. And I look at, people and their lifestyles, and it can kind of make me feel like I want to be in that consumption trap as well. So the average person, they make a decent living, they save up their hard-earned monies, and then one day they decide that they're gonna go buy a Tesla, right? Because they want a new car. The millionaire or the wealthy person would take that money and they might buy Tesla stock. The Tesla stock being an asset that will make them more money. And so wealthy people, they continue to be wealthier and they use their money to make money because they make different decisions about money. And those decisions prioritize asset acquisition, then consumption. Let's talk about risk, because rich people, wealthy people, people in the top 1%, they must have taken risk to get where they are. They are big risk takers, probably more than you can imagine. Let's say that there are 5 opportunities and 4 of them fail. That one opportunity that wins can change your life. Those odds are still far better than not having tried at all, right? And one thing that I've personally had to learn when I'm like on this journey to change my own mindset for being better at money is that just because something is uncomfortable or sometimes even feels unsafe, it doesn't mean that it's something to avoid. Your brain will always try to protect you from what's uncomfortable or what's unsafe. And oftentimes it's the thing that you're avoiding, like that you're really avoiding, and you know exactly what it is that you're avoiding. That's the exact thing that you need to do. Taking that leap of faith, making that life change, taking that short-term sacrifice. You have to fail before you succeed. And the failure is the test. It's the test to see whether you actually have what it takes, or at least that's what I tell myself. And what I also tell myself is, hey, if I avoid failure forever or avoid uncomfortable things forever, then I will never succeed and I will never make any changes in my life. So the difference between a millionaire and the average person is that the millionaire can bounce back quickly. They can bounce back quickly. We call this bounce back time, and they never let one decision wipe them out financially. Bounce back quickly because there's always more opportunity and more money out there if something you try doesn't work. Long-term mindset. So I think that you might be a little upset with me when I say this one. You're probably not gonna like what I say. The biggest secret that I could tell you about rich people is that none of them got rich quick. None of the ones I met anyways. And I'm gonna tell you another dirty secret that you probably don't wanna hear. Everyone who I know who has tried to get rich quick is still broke. Millionaires are usually not in a rush for immediate gratification. Okay, of course they want to have the outcome quickly, but part of it is having strong emotional control, I think. It takes a long-term mindset to save and invest. It takes a long-term mindset to run a business. Everyone who I have seen has won in business. Okay, they've sold their businesses to private equity, they've taken their business public, whatever it is, or they've made a ton of money in investing. Those people stayed in that business or in that industry or in that investment for years, if not decades, while everyone else dropped out. Right? Everyone who I've seen made money in investing, they invested in boring stuff for years, right? While everyone else who tried to get rich quickie, buying weird little things for a quick flip, have literally all disappeared overnight. Trading time for money. So wealthy people don't stay in this working, making money, and paying bills trap forever because they know that it's a trap. And I think that one thing that's hard to accept, it was hard for me to accept, is that it doesn't have to be that way unless you let it be, and that you can choose to not let it be that way. Now, for many years of my life, I also had to work, make money, and pay bills, right? I worked for a decade long in corporate, and prior to that, I had a whole bunch of part-time jobs. I was always working and making money and saving my money, right? But I always set the intention that I would not do this forever. For me, I always had a reason beyond just making money to pay bills, right? I justified the trade-off of my time because I was always learning new skills. And for me, that experience has really paid off tremendously. I'm not saying that wealthy people don't work. They do work. Many of them work many hard and long hours. Trading time for money is something that everyone has to do at some point in their life, okay? Unless you grew up extremely generationally wealthy, okay? And you don't have to work, but that's extremely rare. I also make a strong argument that if you want to learn how to be a successful entrepreneur, then you need to first learn how to be a really good employee, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, there's so many things that you have to manage and juggle, and it's more problems that you have to deal with, right? And when I think of it, it's how could I tackle these problems that I tackled today had I not worked for a long time for someone else, right? How am I going to be a good boss to other people if I've never been an employee myself? Society tells us that the day that we stop trading time for money is when you're 65 years old. But it doesn't have to be 65. It can be when you decide it's going to be. Okay, let's talk about delegation, time, and leverage. People that are wealthy, millionaires, they value their time a lot. I remember back in the day, I used to think that, rich people are snobby because they think that they're too good to talk to you, too good to give you their time. I try to see it from a different perspective now, because people that are wealthy, they value their time a lot, and they will delegate anything that's not worth their time to do. Not because they think they're more important than other people, but because they understand that in one given day, okay, we all have the same amount of time, and we can only produce 6 to 7 hours of really hard work. And sometimes people that are really wealthy, they have so many things going on in their lives. They also have to make conscious decisions of who they talk to, right? And who they choose to give their time to. And so how you choose to allocate those 6 to 7 hours a day is going to be one of the most important decisions that you make in your life that impact your financial well-being. Are you going to allocate it to lower leverage tasks, like cleaning, cooking, washing dishes, meal prepping? Maybe, if the circumstances call for it. I used to do all that stuff myself. I used to wash all my dishes, clean, do all the laundry, do all the meal prepping. I did everything for myself and my husband, boyfriend at the time. Now I'm a little bit luckier because I have someone to help me with these things. So if the circumstances call for it, then you might have to do it. But once you start making money, you can also choose to spend those hours being hyper-focused on taking action to better your financial well-being, which is a much better use of your own time. Chasing trends. So there are always trends out there. Sometimes you're scrolling online on YouTube or on social media or just people talking and you're like, oh, there's this Bitcoin is up by this much, the stock market's this, there's always trends that are going around. But, let me spill a CPA secret for you guys. A lot of wealthy people that got rich, they didn't actually chase trends. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that made money from trends, but most people that are wealthy, they built their wealth or they maintain their wealth doing slightly more boring things. A lot of traditional businesses, they actually make a lot of money, to most people's surprises, right? Any business with recurring and consistent revenue that brings an evergreen service to society is a great business to be in or invest in. So things like home renovations, pest control, waste management, junk removal, plumbing, lawn care, HVAC, property maintenance, trucking and transportation, these businesses have a lot of cash. For example, if I were to freelance accounting services, or even if I were to run my own accounting firm, I don't, but if I were to, I would consider targeting these businesses just because I know that they have money, they will respect your services, they will have a good LTV, and they will have low churn. You guys know how when you go get your nails done and you're at the nail salon and the Vietnamese auntie that's doing your nails is talking to the other Vietnamese auntie at the next booth over, and they're talking in Vietnamese together, and they're clearly talking about their clients or gossiping about clients or gossiping about customers. Now, even if you don't understand Vietnamese, you don't know what they're saying, you know that they're talking about clients and customers because people in workplaces, they gossip, right? So I know another CPA, and one time we were just chatting and sharing career reflections and stuff like that, and this person told me, Alice, never work for a startup. Amongst CPAs and in the CPA world, we talk to each other a lot about companies to work for that are good to work for and companies to never work for. And this person's experience with the startup, or I guess it's a very trendy startup, just wasn't the best. And the overall sentiment amongst a lot of accountants who are naturally more risk averse is that most of them don't want to work for startups or owner managed businesses because the stress of the business and the stress of the owner almost always gets passed down to you personally. So the moral of the story here is that you don't necessarily need to go chase a trend or chase the latest, shiniest thing in order to become wealthy. Because most people, they become wealthy by being really, really good at what they do. If you guys like this video today, you're gonna love my other video on why net worth skyrockets at $100,000. $100,000 is a huge benchmark in personal finance, and there are both qualitative and non-qualitative reasons that this is the case. In that video, I actually break down the math and the calculations of why net worth actually does start to shoot up after 100K, but then I also talk about the qualitative aspect as well. Don't forget to join my newsletter if you wanna hear more from me. Leave me a comment down below of what you learned from this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until next time.